Hey everyone, welcome back. So it's now getting to the end of August, so some of you might be thinking about saving seeds for next year. So I thought I would do a quick video on how to save seeds for everything that you have in the garden. So here we have a bunch of cosmos. These have been such a highlight of my summer. They look incredible in the garden, so I definitely want to save some of these seeds for next summer. And there's a little bee there. I'm not the only one that loves the cosmos. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's a seed, especially with flowers. So what you want to look for is an old flower like this that's pretty dried out. So those, that stuff at the top there that's flaking off, those are just the old flowers. And then underneath, there's hard seeds, but these ones are actually still green, so they're not ready yet. So you want to look for ones that look like seeds. They're going to be dried out. Cosmos seeds are black and long. So I think this one is good. So you can see here, if I pull this out, I don't know if you'll be able to see those. So those there are cosmos seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole old bloom here, and I'm going to put it into a Ziploc bag and kind of shake it around to loosen the seeds. So this one here is actually a really good example of what you're looking for. So you can see that the seeds are dark. If I just touch this, all the seeds kind of fall out. So I'm just going to rip this whole thing off and put it into my Ziploc bag. So this is what it looks like here, and now I'm just going to shake it up and then use kind of both hands to loosen up all the seeds, and then I'm just going to save everything that's kind of at the bottom there. And then once that's done, it looks like this. And then I have these awesome little tins. These are from David's Tea. If you ever got the advent calendar from them, they come with these little tins, which are great for saving seeds. So I'm just going to put them all into here now. And if you end up with a lot of like the old flowers and like the dry bits of the cosmos in your batch of seeds, what you can do is just blow on them and it'll blow off all the light stuff that you don't want, and the heavier seeds will stay. And get in your hair. So saving sunflower seeds is a very similar process. So once your head of your sunflower kind of looks like this and you can see the seeds, sometimes you'll just see them falling to the ground. You can just cut off the entire head like this, and then you're just going to kind of move your fingers along it like this until they start to loosen. And then you'll get handfuls of seeds like this. So I'm just going to do that and then put them in the tin here. These will be the volunteer sunflowers for next year. And I have so many sunflower seeds already, so I'm not going to save a ton of these. But they come off relatively easy. And the birds love these too, so if you don't want to save all of them, you can actually just hang this head of sunflower in a tree, and the birds will do the rest for you. So I'm just going to open up this tin here if I can. And those are sunflowers for next year. So we have a bunch of poppies in our front garden that look like that, and then there's a couple frillier ones. So I'm going to save some of the seeds for this. It is very similar to the cosmos, so we're going to try to find some dry pods and put them into a bag, shake them up, and then save the seeds. So here's a good example of what some dried poppy seeds look like. So they have these beautiful tops to them. They're honestly one of the most beautiful seed pods. They'll just break off easy. And if you look closely, you can see that there are little holes right underneath the top here, if that'll focus. Those little holes at the top there are where all the seeds will come out. So I'm just going to cut these off, put them in a bag, and shake out the seeds. If you're wanting to save seeds from squash or gourds, you're going to have to do a little bit of pre-planting. Because squash and gourds are so closely related, they can cross-pollinate with one another. So if you have a bunch of different species, or different types, I should say, of squash and gourds in your garden, they can cross-pollinate with each other, and then you'll get some very funky plants the next year. So if you want something that's true to the same plant that you have this year, you're going to have to pollinate them yourself. So to show you how to do this, I'm going to use this zucchini as an example. So this here is a female flower, and you can tell that because there is like a little mini zucchini on the bottom of it. So it looks exactly like the fruit of whatever plant you're going to do. So if you're doing a butternut squash, it'll have like a butternut squash shape. If you're doing acorn squash, it'll kind of look like an acorn squash, and that's the ovary of the flower. And as you can see, this flower has not opened yet, and that's what you're looking for. This one actually might be a little bit too soon, like maybe tomorrow would be the best day to do this, but I just want to show you how to do it so you have an idea of what to look for. So that's our female flower, and then this is a male flower, and you can tell it's a male because if you look at the back of it, you don't see an ovary. So you're just seeing a stem. There's no bulge, there's no mini looking fruit, so you know that this is a male flower. So you want to look for a male flower that has just opened, and then what you do is you pick the male flower and you're going to pick off all the petals. So I'm going to do that right now. I need to put the camera down for a second. So once you've picked off all the petals, then you get this, and this is the part of the flower that has all the pollen on it. So what you're essentially going to do is you're going to rub the pollen from this flower onto the interior of the female flower. I accidentally ripped the flower open, so this is not a good example of what you want to do. Basically, you want to open the petals, rub the male part of the flower onto the female part, which is this part here. And then what you want to do is you want to use tape or a piece of string or whatever you have, and you want to close this flower because you don't want any other pollinators to come and pollinate it with the pollen of another plant. So if you tape it up and close it, once the flower is pollinated, it'll fall off the fruit itself, and then it'll be pollinated with just the plant that you wanted to pollinate it with. And then what I do is I put a little piece of green tape here on the stem of this fruit so that I know when I'm picking this fruit later that this one has been hand pollinated and that the seeds should be true to the plant that I would like. And this just ensures that you remember, and I always let this plant get as big as it can. So you want to make sure that those seeds are mature. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like on another plant. So here's another example of what an ovary looks like. So this is a butternut squash, and you can see that it looks exactly like a little butternut squash, and then you have a flower on the end. So that's how you can identify that this is a female flower. And once again, just to show you, this is a male flower because you do not see any ovary on the bottom of this flower. So then if you look inside, they do look different on the inside too. And then over here, this birdhouse gourd, I hand pollinated, so I have a little piece of green tape here letting me know that this plant is going to be true to seed for next year, so I'm going to let this one get as big as I can possibly let it go. So tomato seeds are a pretty easy one. If you ask different gardeners how to save seeds for tomatoes, you will get different answers. Some people like to ferment their tomatoes to get rid of the gel on them. I personally don't do it. I've never had an issue with saving seeds from my tomatoes. I've been able to keep them for years. I have heard that fermentation does kind of extend the life of your seeds, but like I said, I've had seeds since like 2017 that I've still been able to germinate no issue. So to me, that's just an extra step that I don't feel like I need to take. So to save seeds from a tomato, I just grab a tomato that you know is the variety that you would like. And then of course, if I'm eating these or making something, I'll just do this when I'm actually cooking or eating them. But I take a paper towel with the name of the tomato on it, and I just usually cut it open and then squeeze out all the seeds onto a paper towel. And then I just kind of spread them out like this, and then I just let this dry. And then once it dries, the seeds kind of stick to the paper towel, and it's kind of nice because next year, oh, I have a bunch of seeds on my hand here. Next year when I'm going to plant, I can literally just rip off the paper towel and plant the seeds and the paper towel in the pot or however I'm starting them all at once. I don't have to worry about picking them off because the paper towel is biodegradable. So it makes it really easy. It's nicely labeled. Once this is dry, I literally just fold it into like a square or whatever, and I put it into an envelope, and that's how I've been able to keep them. So this is a really easy way to do it. And you can see that there is the gel. There is the gel on the seeds, and like I said, I just kind of leave it. You can probably kind of rub it off like that, but I don't find that it's necessary. So I'm going to do the same thing with these Berries Crazy Cherry. Just pick one that's super ripe, break it open, squeeze all the seeds onto the paper towel, spread them around, and there you go. And it's nice and easy because you can just label the paper towel that you have, spread them out, let them dry, and then you're good to go. For peppers, you want to make sure that your pepper is fully developed, so you want to make sure that it changes to the final color of what it should be. So this is a shishito pepper that has turned red. It's getting wrinkly, which means that it's probably developed. So if you open this up, I don't know if I'll be able to do this with one hand, but if you open it up, there'll be seeds, and you can just simply save those seeds. You don't have to do anything, just put them into a container. Obviously make sure you label everything, but these would be good to go for next year. So for brassicas and lettuce, to save seeds, you essentially want to let them bolt like this. So they're gonna get flowers, they're gonna get pollinated by lovely bumblebees like these. Bumblebees seem to love brassica flowers. Our flowers have just been covered with bees. Oh, there's another one right there. Yeah, it's been awesome to see how many bees have been visiting these flowers. So this here is bok choy that has gone to seed. It's flowered, gone to seed, and now these are all dried out. So if I were to take one of these pods and open it up, I don't know if I'll be able to do this with one. Yep, those were all seeds there. So I'm just going to pick these and then open them all up and put these into a container as well. But brassicas are really easy. You don't have to hand pollinate them. I don't think that they can be cross-pollinated, but I guess we'll see if I get some weird bok choy, broccoli, cauliflower hybrid next year. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, but those are all bok choy seeds. That's maybe half of one plant, which is definitely enough for me. This is more than I would ever plant in 1 year anyway, so that's what I'm going to save. But as you can see, if you keep doing this, you will never have to buy seeds again. So herbs are relatively easy. This is dill here. You know it's ready once it turns brown like this. So if you look at, like, this one is still green, that means it's not ready yet. But this one is definitely ready. You could just throw these into a bag, and then you have dill for next year. Cilantro is the same. So these cilantro I let go to flower and then to seed. So this is now considered coriander. I mean, once it's dried. These would be coriander seeds. So I don't think any of these look ready yet. You want to make sure that the seeds have fully developed. So you want to make sure that they're completely dry, and they usually just come off easy when you touch them. This bed is a little bit of a disaster, but this used to be my garlic bed. I wanted to save a couple of the garlic bulbs to let them go to seed. And as you can see, this one still has its flowers on it, so it's not quite ready, but you do see the little garlic seeds there. So once this is completely dried out, I will once again come back out, put these in a Ziploc bag, label them, and they are ready to go for next year. So similarly to everything else, you want to let your beans get as big as they can, and you want to let them dry out on the bush. So I'm not actually sure if I have any that are actually ready yet, because you want to make sure that the beans are able to get as big as possible. They're going to turn hard inside the pod. Yeah, I actually don't think I have any beans that are ready at the moment. Let's check over here. Yeah, I don't think I do, but essentially you want to be able to open them up and have them be hard. Like this one is still really green and soft, so this one's not ready yet. So you want to make sure that these get hard so that they just kind of crack open and you can just like flick the seeds out. So not quite ready yet. I have a bunch of carrots here. And carrots, to save their seeds, is a 2-year process. So if you want to have carrot seeds, you'd essentially leave a couple carrots in the ground, overwinter them, and then next year they will grow a nice little flower stalk and then produce seeds, but you won't be able to save seeds this year. So if that's what you're wanting to do, make sure you leave a couple in the ground and then you'll be able to save them for next year. Well, I hope you enjoyed this quick little tutorial on how to save seeds in your garden. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great week in the garden.